So this happened.
Where somebody drops a C2 of luggage or of cargo in an area, well, it might be that only 20 cargo boxes can be there. Well, it's going to clean up everything except for those 20 cargo boxes. And then from there, if somebody throws in another one, then it'll remove one.
So this was intentional. That completely beats the point of PES. Dude, what's the point of PES then? My brain hurts and I don't understand why everything, why life, why Star Citizen, why, what, hello? I'm even more pessimistic now than I was before, which is like almost impossible for me, but Jesus Christ. So yeah, let's talk about it after the intro. Hello, my name is Grump. Alright, so before you freak out, he was just using arbitrary numbers, but we're gonna talk about it a bit later. But before that, let me show you a video from 2 months ago that CAG posted on their main YouTube channel, Star Citizen's channel, and the video was called The Cargo Show.
With the new system, we've gotten rid of the 1/8 SCU cargo containers. Everything is 1 SCU cargo containers. So in the case of the C2 with the 696 SCU, that would be 696 1 SCU boxes rather than 5,000 plus.
Every single one of those boxes is a real entity in the game, like any other entity in the game. It is tracked in the database as a persistent entity now that we have the new persistent entity streaming architecture. And it means that now that they're entities that are persistent, they can be interactable. So now you can do things like use the tractor beams to pull them out of the cargo hold or put them into a cargo hold. It also means that whenever we do ship destruction with the new system, we don't have to generate anything. Instead, all that we do is we take the entities that were already created and we just simply detach them from the cargo hold and let them float in space. Now, we still want to have some of that explosive destruction. So there's a certain amount of variable amount of that cargo that is destroyed on ship destruction.
Actually giving you back somewhere, it's actually 0 to 90%, but that's calculated every time your ship explodes. So what happens then is now we're actually hitting that 40 to 50% number on average.
This means that both for players that want to reclaim the cargo that they lost on ship destruction, or for pirates that want to scoop up their ill-gotten gains, then they'll have an easier time to get at it and there'll be more value there when they try to do so.
Now that's what they said 2 months ago, but let's watch what Todd Pepe just said a day ago or 2 days ago, it depends when you're watching the video on Star Citizen Live, and it broke my heart to a degree, but also, I mean, I knew that this was gonna happen, and I'll show you how I knew that this was gonna happen, but first let's watch what Todd Pepe said.
There has to be an upper limit of this stuff. So we've talked, there has to be a way to clean this stuff up.
Yeah.
There's got to be a point where, the world just becomes, the trash levels from Wall-E, and we've got to bring it back. So let's talk about how that works. What, if any, trash rules, garbage rules, cleanup rules exist in 318?
So we have, I don't know what Chris Bolte calls it, but it's basically like cleanup entities, and it's
the density manager.
Density manager. So thank you. But it basically regulates the density of a certain item, and it's per class, whether it be weapons or cargo or armor, or so on and so forth. It's basically per class in a certain radius. So that radius could be 5 meters, that radius could be 30 meters. Like, it really depends on how many are there. And then once it hits that upper threshold, then things will start being cleaned up and removed, but it won't go past, meaning let's say somebody, like, Ben was talking about, where somebody drops a C2 of luggage or of cargo in an area, well, it might be that only 20 cargo boxes can be there. Well, it's going to clean up everything except for those 20 cargo boxes. And then from there, if somebody throws in another one, then it'll remove one, and then it'll just leave. And it should be removing the oldest one.
All right, so it's not 20 boxes. I just tested it out. There are some huge issues with this whole mechanic, and I'm going to talk about that later. And this whole video is just going to be like a cliffhanger after a cliffhanger. But first, I want to show you how I knew and when I knew that this was going to happen, and why I feared this so much, and why this could be like game breaking to a degree. But let me show you, like 2 months ago when the cargo show, like the thing that you just saw, aired, I made this reaction. I mean, just imagine the server performance and the strain on the servers that, like this thing, like all the physics that need to be calculated with servers that we already have that are already shit as they are, and then you introduce this. It's just gonna be fucking mayhem. Honestly, I don't know how this is gonna work. Hopefully it's gonna work okay-ish, but honestly, like seeing this that you're seeing right now on the screen, it's just weird. Honestly, it's just weird. Like I know that a couple of patches ago when they introduced the new inventory system, I spawned like 400 backpacks into an elevator, and they were just like colliding with each other, which completely destroyed the servers. Some servers 30k, some of them went down to like 1 tick per second, and it was basically unplayable. Everybody was having like 10 to 15 FPS on the servers, and like the server was just basically dead at that point. Like this, hopefully they have some new mechanic that's gonna fix that, because like calculating physics for this many things is just like a strain on the server, and it's probably gonna work great on a client. It's probably gonna work great in like a single player game, but like in Star Citizen, which is a multiplayer game, and you have 99 other people doing their own shit, it's just gonna be weird and it's gonna be bad. And also they made the area too cluttered prompt that you get if you like toss enough, like I don't know, it's up to 10 things in the same spot on the ground, and they did that basically because of me, because I was crashing servers, and they did that in the PTU, so it wouldn't happen in the PU, because like the game will be unplayable. Right now, I don't know how that's gonna work with this, because there's a ton of things here, and are they gonna despawn, or are you just not gonna be able to drop anything around them? Like I don't know. Honestly, it does look really nice, like the broken up caterpillar with a bunch of cargo outside of it. It does look really nice and immersive, but yeah, my honest like biggest fear is this, like that this is gonna crash servers, or the servers are just gonna be like so low performance that you will not be able to play on them. So that was the disingenuous, speculative Grumpy Eye that was just speculating and having no idea what he's talking about. But also, you just saw that Top Pappy just basically confirmed what I said 2 months ago when we saw the cargo show, or like the IC about the cargo refactor and about all of this. So here's the issue, and there is a couple of issues. So first of all, let me tell you something. I tested it out. Another cliffhanger, I told you. I tested it out, and yes, you can't spawn a ton of backpacks or a bunch of like same class items in the same area. So we tested it out with backpacks, with the 2 different types of backpacks on my stream, and they were just despawning. Instead of having the area too cluttered, it would just despawn the backpacks. Now, we didn't have backpacks that were like filled with stuff. We got to test that out, and you can check out my streams. You can check out my Twitch channel, because I just moved to Twitch from YouTube, and I'm gonna be streaming more on Twitch. But so yeah, subscribe there. The link is gonna be, I don't know, it's gonna be somewhere. You can find it if you want to. You can find it. But I'm gonna be streaming that, and the like issue is what happens when you want to personalize your ship. So like we're moving towards Pyro. We're on the road to Pyro. We're on the road to like server meshing. We're on the road to like having our ships as our home bases more than we have them right now. Like now we can just like backspace our ship. Like once it goes out of fuel, you can just backspace it and you don't care at all. But at some point we will have like our ships that are gonna be basically our bases. So what happens if those bases can't hold more than like 20 items of the same type. That's an issue. Now, we did test it out with the boxes, also with the cargo crates, and the issue was we had like an M2 and a C2 that we exploded, like we self-destructed. So we had the M2 explode first, and then the C2 exploded. The issue is that the boxes from the M2 basically just despawned. Now, it didn't spawn just 20 boxes from the M2 or the C2. It spawned, like they said, up to like 90% of the boxes, like 0 to 90%. So we probably got like around 40% of the boxes. So it worked. I just tried it out and I got the same result. So like 5 or 6 patches later in the PTU, it's still working the same. So that's a plus. But also there are some issues with like cargo not showing and not spawning in your ship unless your ship is spawned already and then you buy the cargo. If you buy the cargo and your ship is not spawned on the pad, you're not going to see the cargo, and once the ship explodes, that cargo is non-existent basically. So that's an issue that needs to be resolved before it hits the PU. But the issue is, again, if you had another ship right next to it and it exploded also, you will lose most of the stuff, or maybe all of the stuff that you had on your first ship. Now, why is this important? Well, it's really important because of a few reasons, and I already talked about one of the reasons, and I'm gonna elaborate on that a bit more. But let's say you're doing Jump Town and you have a bunch of yes, I know that the boxes on Jump Town just explode with the ship and you get nothing out of them, but if that changes, and hopefully it will change, it's really possible that it will change. This mechanic is still going to, well, fuck you in the ass. Sorry, YouTube, you can demonetize my video now, I guess. But yeah, it's just gonna be a really bad mechanic because you are going to lose whatever you wanted to like get from the guy that from the ship that you destroyed. Now, for like cargo haulers and miners and all of that, like I'm not gonna call them Care Bears, but you know who you are, the guys that don't really want to PvP, that just want to PvE and do peaceful Jump Town missions and all of that. They don't care, they like this mechanic, and this is great for them. But let's say if you're a PvPer and you have an orc and you want to do a siege of a station, for example, and you do not want to let anyone do any commerce with the station itself, and you're gonna like keep on destroying cargo haulers. It doesn't need to be a station, landing zone of some sort, for example Shubin mining facilities and places like that. If you keep destroying ships right next to each other, and yes, the armistice zones are going to be lifted at one point, CEG already said that there are going to be some other rules in place, but the armistice zones are going to be lifted from all the landing zones, even like Lorville, Arcorp, etc. If you keep on destroying ships right next to each other, you're gonna be like, if this mechanic persists and if it stays like this, it's just gonna hurt you because you're just gonna be losing stuff instead of gaining stuff. Now, it's not all that catastrophic because I knew that this was gonna happen, and like whoever ever like played a game and played an MMO or played a multiplayer game, you would know that stuff like this needs to happen for the servers to stay healthy, right? So it's not that catastrophic, but it is a bummer. I'm just gonna say a bummer. Like, I expected this, we all did, I guess that we all did, but it is still like heartbreaking, honestly. Now, let me elaborate on what I said about like home bases and all of that. CEG has promised, and I'm gonna say promised because that was like one of the main promises that like got me into Star Citizen, and that like got a bunch of people into Star Citizen, like especially got people to buy bigger ships. Now, let's say you have a Carrack, and let's say we're at like 4.0, we have server meshing, we're on Pyro, etc. And you go to Pyro and you keep on gathering stuff so you can sell it on Stanton. And you have a Carrack, and your Carrack, like every nook and cranny of the Carrack is going to be filled with like stuff, whatever, like it doesn't matter what, like guns, ammo, whatever you gathered. That's the perfect scenario, and that is what we all wanted to have, because we wanted to have a game where you could have a ship that's gonna be like, that's gonna feel like it's lived in, that's gonna like feel somewhat personalized, because we can't personalize the interior of the ship. Like, we can't change the colors, but what we can do is we can make it like completely chaotic with a bunch of stuff laying around, crates, boxes, weapons, armor, whatever. With this, that's not gonna happen. And I don't see, unless there's something that they are not saying, I don't see our ships like feeling like home bases anymore. Now, the same goes for homesteads at some point once we get them, maybe like in the future. But like, if you can't personalize your homestead and have not just the inventory of the homestead, but just have stuff laying around that you can like showcase to other people that are coming around and maybe want to buy something. So you showcase, oh yeah, I have like railguns, I have like 10 different railguns, you want to buy, or 20, doesn't matter. Do you want to buy one? If this cleanup mechanic persists and if it's still there, it's gonna be an issue. Like, it's gonna be an issue for like the future. It's not an issue right now. Nothing is an issue right now. Like, the game is basically just like in development. It's an alpha grumpy, so nothing is an actual issue. But if this persists and if they actually want to have it like this, then that's gonna be a serious issue. And it is already an issue with bunker missions. I had a bunker mission. I went and whatever, like FPS missions, whenever you have a ton of guns laying around, some of those guns are gonna despawn. And I had that happen to me in the PTU, which is a bummer. It is a bummer because, for example, I love the AR-5 or whatever it's called, the AR, the best gun that's in the game, and it just like despawned while I was trying to grab it because another gun just dropped because another guy just died. So that's gonna be a serious issue in the future, and especially for like some ships like the Liberator, for example. Most of us that bought the Liberator were thinking, at least I was, we're thinking like, okay, so I'm gonna get the Liberator and I'm gonna have like a Vulture on top of it, I'm gonna have a Prospector, and I'm gonna have an Expanse on top of it. And like the lower deck where the land vehicles are going is just gonna be empty because yes, you get like 400 or 500 SUs of cargo on the side. But CAG has said a lot of times now that you can store as much stuff as you want on your ships. There's no limitations, like that's what they sold to us. And then I was thinking, well, yeah, the Liberator, like if you clear out the lower deck, then you have your 400 or 500 SUs of cargo that are going to be magnetically attached to the ship. But then you have the whole rover bay or vehicle bay that you can like use for storage. And I was thinking, yeah, I'm gonna have like thousands of SUs of cargo there, and I'm gonna use that ship as a home base whenever I go with my organ, like on mining expeditions or like salvage expeditions, because I have a refinery with me, the Expanse, I have a mining ship, and I have a salvage ship, and I'm just gonna store everything inside the Liberator. But if you can only drop like 100 or 150, I don't know, one SU crates in that like vehicle bay, and if they're gonna only persist up until that number, if you drop 151 and the first one like despawns, that's gonna be an issue, and that's like them breaking their promise to a degree. But also it is understandable. Like as I said, every game needs to have that, especially if it's a multiplayer game. So I'm like I'm in the middle. I'm like brokenhearted, but I'm still like pissed off because I just wanted them to make something that is completely new and that actually persists and that is just like amazing. But no, it's just another game, I guess. If this doesn't change, and if this is not just like a tier 0 implementation, if server meshing actually gives us more performance and lets them unlock our ships so we can have more stuff inside our ships, or in the radius, not the ship itself, but in the radius that is predetermined already by Todd Pappy or whoever. If the game changes that, then yes. But if not, as I've said, this just broke my heart. And I like, what is Star Citizen? My brain hurts. And yeah, hello. Anyway, thank you for watching, and that is it for today. Thank you to all my patrons for supporting my channel. If you want to support the channel, there's gonna be a link down in the description of the video. Also, thank you to my YouTube supporters, and yeah, you can like support me on YouTube. There's a join button there. There's a Patreon link down in the description of the video. There's a super chat once this video is premiering. There's a super thanks. There's like a lot of ways that you can support me if you want to. Also, there is merch, and you can see it here. I'm currently wearing it. It's Senior Citizen. No, it's actual Senior Citizen hoodie, and there are a bunch of new designs that I made, and most of them are done by me. I did use Midjourney because it's awesome, and it just like it's faster and it looks nice, but it's also funny, and that's the main point. And if you want to support me and if you want to get something in return, I think that like buying my merch is the best way, and like I can vouch for the quality, because this quality, like the hoodie and the cap and everything, it is just like top notch, and it's really good. So thank you for watching again. If you want to support me. If not, don't. Just check out the store. You're gonna like have a few laughs, and that's it. Like if you don't want to buy anything. Anyway, goodbye, and don't forget to bring a towel when you're traveling through space, and mwah, bye.